So also, like every year, I will be asking you in a couple of months. Sometimes I need myself a little bit of time after the symposium, and I will be asking you if any of you would like to publish on with Ávila with the volume 6 of Microtonal 24. Yes, and actually, would you like to add anything from Ávila, your experience with the symposium?
Yes, I can say I'm proud. Usually, I do things that are very important, people say it's important, but you never find proof of it. Here I have it, I see the books, are the most important thing. Yeah. Well, I thank all the authors for the contributions. I don't understand really very much, but nevertheless, I read it with great interest because I don't publish anything without reading it. Yeah. So you see, it's a real investment into your art.
I always say it's incredible his perception, because I revise myself, we revise all the mistakes, everything. I mean, the authors, of course, revise. Sometimes an author revise, I know, like you, Navid, the work of another author, and then sends me, I revise again, and then comes to Herbert Mattinger, and then he finds a lot of new mistakes. It's really amazing there. And he says every book has mistakes anyway. So it's a lot like this. But we really try our best. We never do like the peer review. We never do this judgment. I mean, if you're here, it's because you have something to give to the symposium, to the Microtonal community, to the international Microtonal community. So after this, you are completely free to write whatever you want. We don't want to cut anything or to judge your artistic ideas, the way you express yourself, these kind of things. We never did anything like this. Or even though if you compare with other academic papers, you might differ in your opinion with me. But this is our mentality, our ideas, and it's been working like this for 10 years. Yeah. So I think if Johannes, would you like to add anything to our welcome?
I think that's no question.
No, I just want to thank you so much, Agustín, again, for the organization of the whole symposium every 2 years. It's hard work, big work, and it's always very nice, the outcome. So thank you very much once again.
My pleasure. Yeah, thank you. This is very connected to the presentation. I'm a little bit ahead of time, but to the presentation I brought for you. So yes, as I was saying, they started here 44 years ago. And Johannes was at the very beginning, okay?
Not just beginning, it was, yes, in the 1973, yes, when I began my studies. It was the day, the birthday of the ecumenic music.
Mm-hmm. But then in 1981, when the society was
founded, yes.
And you were one of the first members?
No, I joined it 6 years later.
Okay.
Said 87.
Okay, yeah, he's...
I was 19.
Yes,
You
joined.
Yes, it's longer.
You're the oldest member.
Yes.
Okay.
Now he's the oldest.
Wow. Wow. And in the 80s, so in the 80s, 85, 87, 89, in 91, the Symposium Mikrotöne
Dieter Sweika.
Yes. He's coming on Sunday, I think.
Yeah.
I think he's in Vienna today. And so these symposia were organized in these years, and then extra Naturton in Heidelberg, I believe. Yeah. And then Johannes organized. I was already there. I think I became a member 2005.
You asked me.
Yes, and for me, so my connection, is in a way we are all like the family of Richter, Herf, also you, I consider you a big family, and for me, in the 90s, I was in Sevilla as a guitar player. I wanted to play microtonal music, and because I was reading in a book by John Schneider, who was here last year, there were a few problems. I mean, how to acquire one of these guitars, and how to learn a technique for no pieces, more or less, no repertoire, and also the open strings. I was very young, but still for me, these open strings is going to sound the same. So what I did, I took all the strings off, I put equal strings, and then I tuned to several microtonal intervals, and then I did to 6 of a tone. I was so fascinated about this. I wanted to share, of course, this fascination with my professor, but she said, forget it, don't ever try to do anything like this. And so I kept it secretly for a few years. Then I moved to London, and I was a guitar player. I was playing and studying just guitar performing, but I was in touch with a lot of contemporary music festivals, and then somebody knew, just talking, I talked about these microtonal guitar pieces that I wrote, and he said, can I listen to them? And then he invited me to a festival, so I played, and I played this for my professor at the Guildhall School of Music. You also went there, Robert Brightmore, and he was, thanks God, I found somebody with the same fascination. So he said, no, you have to write for this, you have to continue, this is amazing. He was really, really great. I mean, and he made a mark in my path. And the second biggest mark was a few years after I came here already. I mean, I was in several parts of the world, and then at some point I decided I have to be a composer. So I came to Salzburg, and then there was a guitarist from Israel, Sibi Konen, and she was interested in microtonal music, so she said, I'm going to play this in a concert somewhere. And then Mrs. Gertolstein came to this concert. And then she, microtonal music. And then she spoke to me, and then she told me about this society. And back then I felt, what? Society and this? But I think it's the best way really to keep things going. It makes a huge difference when you're a group of people and you're official group of people. So because of this group, I started the moment we met because of this concert. So at this point, I really started to write like as much as I could. And so a few years after, I was getting more and more involved with the society. And then in 2015, we decided, okay, let's maybe also the new generations, maybe because of ignorance, that you don't know how much work that is to organize a symposium, or the energy, or whatever, first time. So we started this Mikrotöne, small is beautiful. So in a way, we thought it was not to do the continuation of this symposia from the 80s, but to the tradition plus something new. So because of small is beautiful, I think it fits perfectly with the idea of microtonality, and also it pays debt to the philosopher Leopold Kohl, very mean, that's his quotation. And he wasn't born in Salzburg, but just a few kilometers from here, is still the region of Salzburg in Oberndorf, where they also, if you have time, I don't know, maybe Colleen, maybe you went there already, the song Stille Nacht, Silent Night, was also composed here in Oberndorf. It's just a few, with a train 20 minutes away from here, actually. If any of you want to visit this very small chapel, it's a lovely place. So we decided to use both the title of the 80s, the Symposium of the 80s, and then plus this quotation by Leopold. And then we continued in the other symposium we organized in collaboration with the Village Street, with Mr. William Anderson, or with William, we're a family, sorry, I didn't want to get too formal. So we organized the Microtonal village within the Village Street, and so that's why the color differs a little bit from yeah. And these two paintings are very related to the Microtonal Society anyway. And I was just curious, I wanted to summarize, okay, what did we do here actually? So yeah, 194 lectures and 20 concerts, yeah, not bad. That was, I always say, it's like master courses. I mean, having you here presenting all kinds of ideas, all kinds of perspectives. I mean, for me, it's learning so much. I guess it's also for us. We interact, we get new ideas, and also, I guess, we also get the motivation and the energy to continue. There was a participant yesterday saying online, oh, I feel so, I think it was Ali Babili, the last presentation yesterday online from Texas University. He was saying, I'm so happy I can talk to people about microtonal music. I feel so lonely with my microtonal music in Texas. And so Salzburg, I mean, yeah, not that every composer, there are many composers here in Salzburg for sure. There's a lot of music here, but yeah, not everyone does microtonal music, but for sure it's I think it's a home for microtonal music. I mean, we don't need to prove it anymore. We are very happy. I remember with my colleague Gertraud, I was always from the very beginning, oh, it was great. We're going to have it very difficult next time to be like this, and it was every time was like bigger. So I don't know what's going to happen in 2 years, but yeah, I feel myself very proud to join that day with Silicone, with the Microtonal music. I'm very proud that I joined this family and new generation, and Navid is a member of the Microtonal Society. You're always welcome, no matter where you live, and we always have projects. I mean, I was writing to the members because of Galan Trio is coming, so I thought, okay, maybe the many composers, okay, what can we do? Always discussing what we do. We did also some other projects. Sometimes, I mean, I guess at some point we will be doing another CD or at least or some kind of recordings. And this is, we did also not just the books, we also did the publishing of some
compositions for young people.
Yes.
Yeah, for Blasinstrumente and wooden instruments and string instruments.
Yeah. And yeah, so this is on top of these almost 200 lectures in Salzburg. We organized together with the Village Street 35 more. That's making friends, actually, microtonal friends. And this is the big support from Herbert Mackinger, and I think this is a very, very important aspect of the success, the small success we have with the society, and we managed to do 60 articles, and yeah, this is one of the other, the Microtonal village, the Microtonal village, 13 more articles. And I would like the video, I would like to express publicly my thankfulness to Richter, Thomas Richter. In my opinion, the society really works because of Thomas. He's amazing, he's so efficient. I mean, he organizes the website, he organizes the YouTube channel, he solves all the problems we may have. He's aware of everything, really. And in a way, sometimes I even have a bad feeling because I know he's so efficient, and I kind of leave it for him because I know he's so effective, actually. So I would like, he's not here, and he's always like behind a little bit, very shy, but he plays a fundamental role in the Microtonal society. And yeah, so the page really, I mean, he takes care of everything, and even I think sometimes even at 3 o'clock in the morning, the web page, I mean, I sent him some information maybe at night, the next day in the morning it's already there, everything perfect, so I don't know. And we had also, I would like to mention, I mean, one of the beautiful things we had was an exhibition about Richter Herf, who the founder 44 years ago, and Gerhard Bösch and Johannes Kotschy, they know this atmosphere much better. Would you like to say something about this atmosphere in the 80s?
Yes.
Please.
No, in this book, I'm not good in English. Last time, 1984, this book, German.
Yes.
1991. There was not so international.
Okay.
How today.
Yes.
Well, I'm a pupil of both of Richter Herf. He was my teacher in music theory and whatever. And he would sort of always tell us about his thoughts about the microtonal music. He would stand at the blackboard and we would do our exercises, and then he stopped and thought about them. Completely went away, and we were listening, and we didn't know what he was talking about. He was a very nice, very interesting person. And his wife was my singing teacher, and I tried to was the first one to, after Monica, after his wife, to sing, to perform his things, his microtonal pieces, and how to get there, and how to tune in. And once he said he wrote an opera, several, but one was Odysseus, and he worked also with amateur singers, and he said, well, you know, they should sing a bit low, but I don't write it exactly because they are low anyway. It works well.
I think.
Well,
5 harps.
Yeah.
5 harps, yes. Or
The
6
opera
harps.
was, the premiere was in 1979, yeah. So you attended?
Yes. I know the beginning, it was in 1975 when I studied began composition, and a piece for 3 trombones with Nature's Seventh, and I know that Wolf Mädel, he was impressed, but my teacher didn't like it. It sounds terrible, he said. Why not? But I remember the institute. We had an institute of basic research of music, and the room of this institute had been in the cellar of the old building, Mozarteum in Schwarzstraße, in the neighborhood of trombones practice rooms, and it was quite loud there, you can imagine. So we met in the evening there in the dark light in the cellar to practice with the instruments. The ecmetic organ had been constructed later on. I think it was 97. But in the beginning we had some strange instruments like an organ with 1.5 octave, many pipes, perhaps 12, 15 pipes perhaps, and the engine to blow the air in was a vacuum cleaner motor. But we could change the height of the pipes, the length of the pipes, so we could really install the tones we wanted to hear. And then later on there had been a seminar by Wolf Mädel, and I took part with 11 others, but at the end of 1 year, 2 only remained, but it was too hard for them to make mathematics and physics, acoustics. It was a problem for most who wanted to play an instrument. They were only interested in something new, but not to go to the basics of this music. And once when I was sitting there, my teacher in composition came in by chance and saw me sitting there, and then the next lesson he said to me, "Oh, it's good that you are interested in such things, but please never compose in this stage." Wimberger was once there, and Wimberger, perhaps you know him, Professor Mozart, and he played in an chord of 4, 5, 6, 7 with the major sevens, that's the dominant 7th chord, but with major sevens, and he said there is no difference in what I'm accustomed to. There's no difference. He didn't hear that.
Yeah, perception. Yeah.
That's a kind of yes. We'll talk afterwards about it. And a new Mozarteum was built. The academics. There was a Professor Hesse, who was the chief of the department, yes, and we had a new room. There were 2 rooms, but in the middle of the building, even in the cellar, without light from outside. It was always electric light. This building does not exist anymore from accidents with the air, and several members of the Mozarteum staff, they got ill and some died, and so the new building has vanished, and we have now a good, very new building here. And at the end of it, in 2004, when Professor Hesse retreated, there was no successor. And so the institute was taken over by another department. I think there was new music.
Neue Musik?
Neue Musik, yeah. It was taken over, but it never existed since. So we are a small rest gathering around to save the Kmelik music and the Microtonal music in Salzburg. And we had in the lectures of the Mozarteum, there had been lectures in feinstufiges Hören that listened to small pitches, but I think they stopped this 5 years ago, so perhaps that was the last action in Microtonal music at Mozarteum. I was very sick about that, but I cannot change the fate.
Thank you.
And I wanted to mention, when I thought of this small presentation, I thought of one of the very first article we published, and we called her Marika, for friends, Maria Richter. So she presented the lecture in memoriam, Richter, Herf, and in a way I wanted to do something like this, and I didn't want to copy the title from her, but I wanted to connect it. So this is the legacy. This is like we mentioned one of the projects we did, this concert. This is from Leben das Beste, from Life the Best, and it's a
song. It's a composition by Franz Richter.
Yes.
And it's a song for guitar and voice. And we decided to use his scolatura and make new compositions. And that's what we did.
So the composers in the Ecumenic Society, everyone who wanted to wrote new compositions after this one, and there are two versions for harp. I think at the beginning of the CD, the one version with harp, guitar, and then with harp. And the text is from a writer from Salzburg, Paula Droga, and yes, it's a very nice poem. And I have a beer show here, so maybe I just put some pictures randomly, and I would like to. It's really some of you. I just selected a few, so this is maybe last year. I don't know. So some online, and I don't know. Johnny Reinhardt, that's probably 2021. This is probably last year here, so it's the same room. That could be that one of, I don't know. I mean, this is Mozarteum, some concerts we started to have Sacellum concerts as well. We are also very, very thankful to KHG, Salzburg. Also, I have to mention, this year is a collaboration between the Ecumenic Society, the Institute for New Music at Mozarteum, the Royal Shapiro Fund for New Music, and our society. And KHG is also KHG collaboration. KHG is supported so much with the concert plays and with this side and with a lot of things actually. So this last year, John Schneider playing Harry parts and singing and playing Harry parts. And Lou Harrison probably is playing Lou Harrison. And again, speaking with, everyone is here today in the picture. And Jordina last year. There was also New York. I wanted to include some from the Microtonal village. I think, that was a long time ago, maybe 2017. Maybe 19. Yes, I see.
19.
Yeah, I see. Oh, the 19. Yes. I see Ruta. I see. Felipe Pinto-Aguiar, I see Kasia, Richard Cameron Wolf, Johnny Reinhardt, Georg Haidu, Eleni, Johannes, Hans, it's a very nice family. And I remember some discussions at Torgaham. He also came a couple of times, the first symposium. And Georg is coming very, very soon. He's playing tonight. Torga, I think we know each other because of Torga, probably, and Jens. That was a very, very nice lecture. And very young people always coming to the symposia to do presentations. They did amazing. They sit on, and so from the Seaton, only Georg Folk is coming. Charles Corey was in charge, was the curator of the Harry parts instruments, and these instruments were moving from a state to the other. They are all in the States, and that was an original parts guitar, and we really enjoy having this guitar trying. It was a very nice story, this Harry Parts guitar. Yeah, and of course, Mr. Hausen's Symposium, a huge production, very good concert at Solitaire here at the University of Monterrey. Yeah. So this is what we do here, and the very last part of this presentation, in case you wanna become a member. This is, I also do graphic art, and this is the graphic version with the silence from Levendas Weste. It's also done after this project, but just in a more visual way. So if you want to become a member and support us, that we would be thankful. On top of being thankful to you for coming here, we could united we'll be stronger as a ethnic society. So I think I've talked enough.
Are there any more questions from your side? No? Comments? Yes.
Just, congratulate everybody to have a baby, but I just wanted to say this and make it very short that back in 15 years ago, almost 15, 16, I was a master's student at the University of Hamburg in Germany, and I was doing sort of research to write my master's thesis, which was about aspects of functional composition. And I didn't know anything about Richter, Herf, and Salzburg and this institute. I found all of the publications from the 80s. At the library of the Musicology Institute of the University of Hamburg, and I used them, cited them, coded them, and I was quite familiar with all of those publications from the 80s, so it was a pleasure. In 2015 I saw a call for abstracts, and it was about the ecumenic society. So that was my initial introduction to the work that was done here in the 80s and 90s, and then of course you are Agustín picked it up and announced it.
Very nice. I didn't know this story, actually. I think we never...
Totally coincidentally, all these, 5, 6, 7 proceedings at the Musicology Institute Library, and they were great because there's so many different perspectives about tone music and just intonation, 72 tone to octave scale, and so forth and so on.
Yes, we believe this is a very important documentation for the future. We don't know who might have interest in the future. Okay, we also put everything online, but a book is a book also. Yeah, it's nice sometimes to have a book in your hand and to see how people not just talk, but also how people write and the examples and everything. So it's a very important part of our work.
If you don't have the book, you can buy it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So the other, sorry.
Yes, so I think I'm finished. It was just a short presentation, very informal, and we have still some time.
What would you suggest, have a break or carry on?
Yeah.
He is a collaborator, of course, with the Herf Institute, and he's an early member of the Hamburg. And he initiated the Heidelberg Nature Tone Symposium and the International Symposium of Oriental Arts. In addition to that, he was chairman of the Chamber Music Festival of Musiktagemuseum, and he's now the vice president still. Okay. And he wants to mention it, I think, is author of the chapter Microtonal Music in the Austrian Encyclopedia of Music. Johannes, the stage is yours.
Hello, you all. For the audience, dear friends, dear colleagues, listen hard. It's very nice to see you again after long, long 2 years. And I'm glad that I meet some friends I met 2 years ago and the other years. What I have to tell you now, perhaps it would be unpleasant for somebody. Please don't be angry about me when I tell you something that of my experience I made in the last 50 years. It was just 50 years when I wrote my first microtonal composition. I told you before, it was for trombones. And my professor Reskin, he was not pleased about it and said, it sounds terrible, it's terrible. But I was convinced to be on the right way. Today, I'm not so sure. In many occasions I ask myself, is it correct that I went on this road in microtonal music? It's so far, there is no real road. Perhaps could it be that microtonal music doesn't exist in reality? But of course it exists. It is music written by Always Harper in quarter tones and fifth and sixth tones, and Morgan Sandberg in 8 tones, and by Julian Carrillo with all to 6 up to 16, and many other compositions in other systems, and especially in the first half of the 20th century. But now the possibilities seem to be endless, and what to do? And I have asked myself, what means microtonal music? Are we entitled to call deviations from the pitches of our conventional music system already microtonality? And is there a boundary of microsteps? And are we allowed to choose some pitches anyhow, just as we like, out of the defined pitches of a 12 EDO? And call this heap anew, perhaps a microtonal system? And are we able to hear all these pitches at all? Are we able to comprehend them and to distinguish the intervals which they produce? It's possible to arrange them in a meaningful manner. And why, finally, do we use the 12 EDO as starting point? It's only a simple compromise to depict the common Western scales, which themselves can be only be part of reality. Because of my pictures, I try to find answers. So there are none answers. Is that microtonal music at all? Is every deviation from the pictures of the Occidental tempered scale consisting of 12 equal semitones has to be called microtonal music? Then it must contain just intonation music. It must contain blue notes and jazz, overtone singing and overtone music. And perhaps all non-European music systems have other systems like we have. And all tunings at all, which differ from a well-tempered tuning. In my opinion, none of them has to do anything with microtonal music. And into that, I don't believe that shift and shape is a method to shift the pitches of a chord a little bit down or up, so that it differs and makes a shadow on the tuning music. But I think that's no method to make microtonal music. But what's microtonal at all? The following example is very simple. That's a dominant 7th chord, and only one pitch to make it lower, comes to another chord that's stable. The first is used in the conventional music and is full of tension and longs for dissolution into a tonic. This would, in this case, would be F major. But now, when you're only 1/3 tone deeper, the first, the B flat, so it will come to the 7th overtone, to the major 7, and meanwhile, the tempered third comes down to the major third, to the pure third, and that's all. But it's only a small alteration, and this new chord is stable, very stable, and the tension is out. That does microtonal music. Here, it's, I think it's could be no doubt. But there are other solutions for this chord. Here. The next one, in just intonation, we know that the interval from C to B sharp is from 9 to 5, and so the intervals of a chord were two minor thirds and a major third. But when we see it in overtones, there has to be another basic tone. In this case, if we take this 6 to 5 and 5 to 4, it must be a basic tone of A flat. In other case, when the interval between C and B is 16 to 9, as it's in Pythagorean music, and even in just intonation. And there is another interval that's the Pythagorean minor third, 32 to 27, and in this way we have another basic tone that's a B flat, but it's far down, it's 1 octave deeper. So there are two methods, two examples to interpret this interval. But there's a third one. If you take the undertones, it's a chord of D minor, you know, in the undertone, the basic top pitch is on top of a system. And so this chord here, 9 to 7 to 6 to 5, is the same as the normal, common dominant 7. But we added D. That's the basic tone up to this one, up to 1. And so we have a chord it's of D of G minor and the undertone system of D. In all these cases, the third, the E flat has to change its place. Here it will become the 13th, and that's about 55 cents before. And here, when B is a basic, it turns to about 25 cents. And when we take this, it's the major sevenths from top to D to E, and then it's 35 cents. I believe the best solution would be this, for we have consonants in all these pictures, and the basic triad is very interesting. It's a 6 to 7 to 9. That's a very narrow, very minor third and a big major third. And it sounds very good. It's really a new kind of expression and a new kind of a triad. Let's go on. That's the wrong direction. Yes. And what this means microtone, we are accustomed to divide a microtone into two parts, that's in two semitones. And the semitone is the starting point of microtonality. I myself defined it in the Austrian encyclopedia. A microtone is defined as a pitch below the size of a semitone of 100 cent. But that's not correct. I found out later. It only concerns the equal octave division in 12 participation and excludes all the other semitones which have been formed by other divisions of the whole tone. So, for example, the Pythagorean divisions, we have two semitones, where one, the limma, is the smaller one, and the upper tone is the bigger one. Together, if we add a cent, we come to the tonus, the whole tone, of 204 cents. In just intonation, it's different. We use the upper tone 16, oh, that's a mistake, 16 to 15. It must be 16 to 15, that's the semitone. And the other one, the limma, is 135 to 128. We can calculate this by dividing 9 to 8 by 16 to 5, and the result is this. The harmonic division is something else. We have here a limma with 99 cents, and this is to be the first microtone. The upper tone must be higher than this, and it was 104. There is a difference of 6 cents that outside of the border of hearing, but they are different. The only equal division is this one, where we use irrational numbers, and it's the only one where the semitones are equal, but we are not semitones at all. And when we take this tonus with 200, and it's just the border where we define the semitones, the microtones. What to do? So it's better arranged. So, yes, we make our divide tonus, the whole tones, and we may divide semitones, we may divide octave and other tones, and we will get an enormous number of microtones. But it's only a simple calculation we make if we divide an octave, where is a number of 1,200 cents, and we divide it by a number we choose, and we will get a lot of pitches, and that is stop there. It's a real universe of microtones, where we are staggering around. We assume an octave to consist 12 semitones with 100 cent each, but this is nothing else but a helping hand to get our bearings in the endless ocean of pitches. We are convinced to be on the right way, persisting on the European or Western view on music, but as I have mentioned before, in reality semitones are most various. Different whole tones are divided into diverse limata and apotome and even comata. Are we legitimated to ignore all these natural facts? Now, let's stop a little bit and come to another chapter. And let's begin with physics. It's not too difficult, I hope. The interval in physics is defined by the comparison of wavelengths or frequencies. And frequencies and wavelengths have a relation together, and it's inverse proportional. You see, when the wavelength is high, when the difference when the wavelength is high, the frequency is low, and otherwise, when a wavelength is very short, the frequency is high. And that's a relation between frequency and wavelength. And if you compare two frequencies, it must be the same. The first ratio of the frequencies is just to turn around the other with wavelengths. Our ears and our brains, and of course in physics we can measure all these values, but our ears and our brain, the auditory cortex, they have no instruments to measure wavelengths and frequencies. But along the basiliane brain, as I told you 2 years ago, is situated in the cochlea. Here, drawing the cochlea is this part of the inner ear, and here in Hamburg, it's a Trommelfell, a drum, how do we call it?
Yeah, drum.
Yeah, drum. So a wave arrives and we get it only to the cochlea, and inside of the cochlea is a basiliane membrane where are hair cells that react to the incoming pressure of a wave. And this signal is sent to the brain, to the thalamus, and from this place it comes to the auditory cortex. That's this place here, on both sides of the brain, left and right. Some say that the auditory cortex is only on the left side, where we can hear the music and the intervals on the left side and the rhythms on the right side. But it's the right side belongs to the left ear and vice versa. And so, but this is not correct. Both sides, both parts of the auditory cortex can do the same things. By most people, of course, we recognize the higher intervals of the left cortex part and coming from the right ear. And this is a place in the auditory cortex where we can recognize the intervals, but not by wavelengths or frequencies, but by the time a period takes. A period is one wave, a part of one wave, one sinus curve, that's all. I hope I have a picture there. Yes, there it is. So there are two wavelengths. These are longer waves here. So the frequencies are longer, so higher, so the frequency is low, and then the second, the frequency is higher. So there are two parts to compare with, and I see there's a T1, that's how longer it is. No, that's not right. I think there must be a mistake, but I cannot see. It must be 2, 2, 2, 2, 1. Okay, forget this and have a look at this. This time T is a period of a wave. It takes the frequency as a velocity and the way of length of the wavelength. And one period is expressed in seconds. As they're very small, they are expressed in milliseconds. And that's the most important thing, that we have no relations other to the pitch high. So our Mother Nature has thought of everything, and we have neurons in our brain placed on here on the colliculus inferior, that's on the brain stem, not in the cortex, in the brain stem, and where neurons are firing periods of 0.4 milliseconds. That's a frequency of 2500 hertz. And this is firing continuously, always in our brains, when we are we have a time to rest and keep calm and concentrated, we will perhaps hear this tone. It's the S high on the piano. And even when we are going over to sleep, sometimes that suddenly happens that this pitch arrives in our brain. I call it the working frequency of the brain. But it's not only in the human brain, but also in birds and mammals too. And it's not all we know it by Ashwin notes, Mexican Beating. And the birds, of course, and they all have this signal in their brain, and we human beings too. And that's the point where we can calibrate all tunings on this one. That's this E flat in the seventh octave.
Once again, E flat, seventh octave.
Yes, seventh octave. Very right. The last on the piano.
The last
The last E flat. The last E flat. In former times, it had been when tuning was deeper, that it was the E. And Smetana, the composer, in his string quartet, from my life, this string quartet, in the third movement, there is a tone appearing the E high on the violins and kept to the end of the whole piece. And that's his frequency.
That's the E flat.
That's not the E flat. That's the E flat.
That's the end of my... No. Okay. It's okay. And in former times this had been the E, and so perhaps Smetana did this particular pitch of 2500 hertz, and very loud, and this made him really mad, crazy. And he finished his life with it, only one pitch. It's really a tragedy. That's really okay. Oh my cactus. Yes, the result of this all is to keep in mind our appreciation of intervals is based on ratios, as we have seen by the function of the brain and of the hearing systems, and by the comparison of wave periods. That's very important. This means our imagination of pitch distances provoked by the arrangement of the keys of the piano and still maintained in the addition of synth numbers has come to an end now. If we want to realize really young music, which also considers microtonality, we ought to leave the old-fashioned point of view. Pitches are not countable, but we can multiply the ratios. The only equal division which has prevailed in music is the 12 division. It was a result of about 4 centuries hard work to find its tuning, and it was the intention to combine pure fifths and pure thirds, but nobody could manage this. Even Arnold Schoenberg, inventor of dodecaphonic music and 12-tone theory, remarked in the preface of his music theory that the 12 equal semitones should only be regarded as a compromise, which hardly could represent the reality of nature. Now, 100 years later, with new experiments and new instruments and experiments in different tuning, we still use the same arrangement of black and white keys as we've done the hundreds of years before. When Sebastian Bach published his very-tempered piano, the best solution seemed to be found. But nobody was really content about. We are accustomed now to other things, not to the black and white keys only, but to algorithms, artificial intelligence, reversing tunings on keyboard synthesizers and so on. But concerning the keys, the keyboards, we are still living in the time of the steam engine. Back to the 20th of the last century, Haber, Eichendorff, Wisniewski and other creators of Microtonal music knew that there are pitches which exist in diverse folk music and cannot be expressed by a 12-tone semitone scale. The splitting of a semitone into two quarter tones had been the first step, of course. Second, to divide in 3 sixth tones. After Haber succeeded, Alois Haber succeeded in composing quarter, fifth, and sixth tone systems, writing and wrote a special music theory, so he can rightly be regarded as the father of microtonal music. Are the results really satisfying? You all know that the 12-tone system is not quite correct. It's a compromise, but when we play in quarter tones, would it be very much better? Or in sixth tones? Only higher divisions, particularly 31, 53, and what is it? And 72 division and higher, of course, may present acceptable results. You see here in red numbers the results of equal divisions and in diverse division, like 12, that's the 12-tone system, into 19, 24, quarter tone, 31. That's the division used on the Hochensfocker organ in Hagen. And 36, that is 6th tone and 3rd tones. 53, that's a special. It was invented already in the 7th and 16th century by Mersenne and Mercator. And now, just today, it's still used in Turkey and to make a division that is able to play correct Turkish music. And when you compare it, the more the number of divisions, the better the results will be. I took a bone pierce too, but it can't be got into the row of the other divisions, for there is not an octave division, but a 1.5 division. Just technique. And when we compare the scales in the music systems, there is something very catching the eyes. We must divide our supply of tones, of pitches, and the pitches we use in scales. The supply of European music is 12 pitches. In Chinese music it's the same, but they use the Pythagorean semitones. That's the only difference. The Indian ragas contain 22 shrutis, but the scales only 7 to 8. Even in the Makamat, the the twice as much pitches, 24 scales, only have 7 tones. Turkish scales like that, and even the gamelan is quite different from the European system, has only 5 to 7 pitches. It's very important to divide not to define our scales. A scale can only contain 7 pitches, and the others we use and that are part of coloring chromatic pitches. And even in our systems too. So the Arab system has 7 main tones and 7 side tones. European music, as we know, has 7 main tones and 5 side tones with black keys, chromatic keys. And so the Indian is similar to the Arabian, but it has 7 main tones, 5 side tones, and 10 deviations, small deviations, the same as the Arabian with maqamat have. They have 7 main tones, 7 side tones, and 10 deviations in the high of thick and nim, one higher and the other a little bit deeper. But that's the supply of Arabic music, and we choose 7 from them to build the scales. In music, in nature, we find, just out of my concept, yes, we find something that occurs by division in parts and by using different frequencies. They are not, our frequencies sent out are not always in the same one single frequencies, but a bundle of frequencies. And in nature, they were bound together. And only one, which were very clearly defined, they last in the end, they appear here in this point. You see above, they're all pitches together. But when pitches, and not only pitches, frequencies, electronic, magnetic waves as well, they are bundled together, that only special particular frequencies will be adapted here. And this system has found out by the Soviet mathematician Vladimir Igorevich Arnold. He died 2010, and it's not so long distance to this. And our solar system, and you see these main ratios here, they all appear in a gap. The gap gets together, and there is no other between perhaps this 2 to 3 and the 5 to 8 and 5 to 7. There are some others, but they don't appear in this picture. And the main ratios will appear only. And what he found out, we find also in the universe, like this, the gaps in Sacellum, Saturn, this conjuring system. I lost it. Yes. Ah, yeah. And these gaps here are caused by the gravity of moons. They are most in the center of these gaps here. There are moons around the Sun and planet. And so this formation of rings will appear in the telescope. And the same in our solar systems outside in the Kuiper belt. That's on the edge of our solar systems. That's Pluto and his way around the Sun. And here even the dwarf planets, with their gravity, they make also these gaps here, and in the middle of the gaps, that's the moon surrounding the sun. In music, it's just the same effect. I have here a division of a part of a string here, the middle of a, and you must imagine this is only the first half of a string, and the other side is the second. So the first half of a string contains one octave here. That's a 2 to 1 to 1. That's an octave, and in the middle there is the fifth, the pure fifth. And all other intervals, I took ratios with numbers between 1 and 16, and they had diverse qualities. Some of them they are not easy to hear and to arrange in this list, so I used the numbers and multiplied them. And in this systems I arranged all these pictures, and you will find tons of Arnold, he found out in physics, with electromagnetic waves are the same as appear in the system of music, of a string. And so we have here the fifth in the gap, in the middle of the gap, the fourth in the middle, and the 5 to 3 in the middle, and so on, even the 7 to 4. And this results from an experiment that Helmholtz had. You see the same Arnold times and the division of a string. In Landoma, you see the numbers that are used for this. There must 216, and these intervals are kept in this picture. Landoma, I think you know what this is. Landoma, it's an arrangement of all ratios that exist, beginning with 1 to 1 and continued with 1 to 2, 2 to 1, and so on. And it goes in both directions on and to infinity. And when you compare numbers with the same value, like here the yellow ones, with 16 to 8, 14 to 7, 12 to 6, 10 to 5, that's an octave. And an octave depicts with a line a special note. I took the middle one as a C, and then it's one octave higher. And the second octave, it's 16 to 4, and 8 to 2. This appears here, and it's the same dividing of octave as I showed you in the last picture. And that's only a mathematical method. On the other side, that's our U-tonality on this side, our O-tonality on this side, and U-tonality symmetrical to the other on the other side. Let's go on. I have no time anymore. Let's also say the lines you see connecting the same pictures. And far out, when we look at from the same system from far out, it looks like that. And we'll see there are gaps 2 and 1 pitch in the middle of that. That's only a construction of mathematics, but it's the same result. And that's the result of an experiment that Helmholtz made in 1860 in Heidelberg. He asked 2 assistants to play the violin. The one played with semitone and continued playing this, and the other had to go upwards with a pitch steadily, and so all intervals that could appear could be here. And Helmholtz himself had the task to rate this in kind of dissonances. The higher the dissonances, the higher must be the curve here, and consonants are minima. Here, you see here the minima at 3 to 2. You see, and when you compare this with with these ratios, the ratios you have seen, always the same. In the middle, the fifth, the fourth, the 2/3, and the sixth, and here -7. But this is not right. Here, Helmholtz made a mistake. What he looked at to be the -5 was a 7/4. But this was not known to him that this pitch exists. And I made the same experiment, but only theoretical. And I used it to make a curve in the same way I showed you. The smaller the numbers of the ratio, the better it would sound. And to multiply them would give them a number. So 3 to 2 will be 6, and 5 to 4, 20, 5 to 3, 15. So it must be a little bit better than the 5 to 4. And that's the curve that I found out not by experience, but by theory, by mathematics, and compared with the other, and nearly the same. The difference is that here are some pictures that don't occur with Helmholtz, where he did not know that. He was accustomed to the system, he had learned that it was a cultural development to hear these pictures, not to hear the 7 to 4, but the 9 to 5. And you see, the result is nearly the same. Theory and in practice. I will complete and come to an end, and I will show you the harmonic division where the same ratios appear once more. Dividing, that's a very simple system. That's the harmonic division of an octave. A harmonic division takes two parts, that's the fifth and the fourth. That must be numbers of the ratios where one is one higher than the other. And you see all of these ratios have a difference of 1. That's the only, and by division you can get all of these pitches. Our system in Europe we use, that's 3 and the 3 to 2, and the fifth can be divided in the minor third and the major third, and this major third can be divided in the whole tone, but now there are 2 whole tones, so 9 to 8, and 9 to 8, and the 10 to 9 we have 2. And in this part, 18 to 7 appears, that's the first microtone distance. You continue on these others are microtones. But a lot of pitches we don't use besides the 16 to 15. But is there any sense it's forbidden to use them? I think we have a way to go to use all these pitches. And the question I asked before, could they be counted to microtones? Are these microtones? 7 to 6, that's the final tone with a narrow third, narrow minor third, and this 6 to 7 to 9 chord triad. It's another triad we never used, but it exists, but there are no microtones. Could we name that? Could we name every deviation from our common pitches microtones? It's a question. Finally. What are microtones? One young man in Houston, Texas, declared it to be this. A microtone is 0.2 and so on. And why did he find? He divided only the whole tone, the tonus, into 1 million parts. It's 1 million part of a whole tone. You see the reaction of musicologists. Here's the Landoma again, and how it produces the overtone scales in this direction and the undertone scales in this direction. Nice. I think.
45 minutes are over.
Yes.
So we have
Half minute. I'll show you last
lots of questions, and then we have a few minutes break, and then to continue with anything here.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So could I show you the last pictures? That's Pythagorean, you see, in the Lautoma, and with the system we use now in Europe. And here in this system you see on top the Pythagorean, and then the system we use now, and this blue, that's the diamond of Harry Patch. It's the same systems he uses in his instrument, the Symposium. This was built by Dean Drummond. Now the last picture, I think, this direction. And here the same, you must imagine this goes on both sides. And here are numbers like 35 to 23, we never use them, they are too abstract, but we can act with them. And these are, some of them are microtones. And in the end, that's a system I use for my compositions. I use these small numbers and I get them out from the overtone scale in the same way from the undertone scale. Now, what to do? I don't know. I think we have a long way to go. Still have a long way to go in music. And we always should ask, is that really microtonal? For all these intervals here on this picture, there is nothing. The first begins with 18 to 17. Well, the question remains open, I feel. So, thank you. It was not too much and to make you angry. There are other questions I try to answer, but you know there are so many questions just not answered. And we have to do it ourselves in future and find our place in music, what's microtonal music is.
Just a question about this table, why do you have the last two ratios in brackets?
Yes, they exist, but I have pictures that are used in our music here. 15 to 8 is the major 7th, and 16 to 15 the first semitone. So it belongs to the system with bad numbers here.
What kind of numbers? Sorry?
Bad numbers are pictures we use in our systems, in our music system, up to 6. And from that, the others are built with 15 to 8, for example, as if you multiply the ratio of a fifth of the ratio of the major third. So it appears, and we return it from the major 7th to octave, you will get that.
Why are they in brackets? I still don't understand why you put them in the brackets.
It doesn't contain every pitch. You see, the 13 to 11 to 11, I don't use here. It exists, but it's difficult to hear. We can change it perhaps with 7 to 6. It's nearly the same, perhaps, in the chord. 13 to 11, it's very small. But the brackets are only, they are outside of this. There are many pitches between 14 to 11, 15 to 11. It's only a part of possibilities we have. But it's not, up to 16 it's not so much. You can hear this with 13, yes, the 13th overtone. And perhaps we'll get about 30 pitches only in this way, which all can be harmonic intervals. Okay? It seems easy, yes, but everybody has his own way to come to microtonal music. I think it has a future, but we ought to make a quite a special identity for them. Nothing, as I told you, just intonation and folk music of other countries that doesn't belong to microtonal music. It's part of its culture, but it's built of the same, and you can reduce them to its intervals. For example, the 9 to 11, it's yes, 9 to 11 is a neutral third in the Arab music, and even others. Mm-hmm.
I've got a question. Towards the beginning, you had tension.
Yeah.
You showed how
the tension sinks.
The tension was greater with a 12/72.
Yeah.
A traditional dominant seventh from a 87 called Microtonal ratios. And I don't know. I was thinking. So now, does microtonality exist? I mean, does tension exist? What is tension?
Tension.
I mean, is tension?
Yeah.
I mean, is tension?
Tonality. Yes, I think so that tonality is a relation to the basic tone and nothing else. And even a chord, when you put together two pitches into relation, there must be a common basic tone to them. It depends from the distance. For it's not a dissonance. A quarter, a fourth to 3, indeed is a dissonant. We call it the consonant as the numbers of ratios are small, but it's not we cannot leave it alone. We need a basic tone. When we take the basic tone 2, then it's no dissonant. Then it's consonant.
So the tension is that sort of design.
Yes, and alone it has a lot of tension, the fourth. It wants to be dissolved. We call it in German Quartvorhalt. Quartvorhalt, it's the fourth which dissolves to 3 to the third. With the basic tone of the fourth dissolves to the third, and so the basic tone is okay again, it's dissolved. And I think that every interval that exists with high numbers of the lambda and all, and a lot of this, they all are in connection together by possessing one basic tone together. And when the difference is, like for example, 253 to 181, it's an interval, but the basic tone is far outside, but there is one. So
that has the high numbers, the very obscure ratios.
It's obscure, yeah.
Those have very high tension because they're so ambiguous.
It's a high tension, yes, but I think in this kind we cannot identify this interval. We have some smaller, and then you can say, yes, there's a high tension in this interval, but when we add the basic tone, the tension is away. And even if the basic, we can play, for example, the C and the D flat on the piano. And what's the basic tone? It must be 16 to 15. It must be the D flat. And we hit the D flat in the basic, in the bass part and the deep. Then it's a consonance. Even in every case, so that I believe that atonal music cannot really be. I think that's an illusion. All music that exists is a quality of tonality, of consonance.
It's two things in relation to something.
Yes, it depends from the relation, yes.
Yeah.
And of course, when the relation is very far away, that's at a high tension, and that's nearby, then the tension is slow. Okay?
Okay. Is it okay if we make a shorter break, like 15 minutes now, and then we continue with Eric and with Georg? Actually, we were supposed to finish 15 minutes ago, but because we just didn't have a break, so it's a kind of compromise. So we get a little bit of fresh air in the room.
Fresh
Thank you
air.
very much, Johannes.
Thank you. I will stay here till Saturday evening, and we have, I hope, so much time to discuss. Thank you.